This is episode 4 of the Toronto Untitled Blue Jays podcast. I'm Steve Artabello with Theo Giordano and Anthony Harris. You can find our website, torontountilt.com. You can find our Twitter at Toronto Untilt. You can find us on YouTube where the video of this podcast will be posted, Toronto Untilt. And of course, you can find us on streaming on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Breaker, Bleaker, Anchor, things, all of the things. You can find us, like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends, share. The audio obviously will be streaming. The video will be on YouTube. We are Toronto on Tilt. And this is the baseball version. So we gave you the football content. Now we're into the baseball content. We were mixing it in at the end of the season. Now that the season is here, we're just going to kick this sucker off, kind of giving you a bit of a season preview. And then it's on Sundays. As the Jays play, we'll be bringing you kind of weekly content, a talk as to what's happening, a state of the week of the season.
Oh, rant.
Oh, those will be in there because, there's ups and downs. A long baseball season of 162, which we're going to get. It's going to be awesome. I'm very happy we're getting a full baseball season. But we'll just jump right into the content for today. So injuries is kind of the big topic before I guess we talk about like projections for the Jays season, since injuries are unfortunately... I always say nothing good can happen in spring training because the only thing that fucking happens is injuries. And like usually the guy's like, oh, that's the spring training story. Yeah, he gets sent down after 2 weeks because he can't hit or he can't pitch. That's generally what happens. So there's two sets of injuries. There's the position player injury and then there's the pitching injuries. And I guess we'll just kick this thing off. The Springer injury, they're kind of built for. You know what I mean? Like they've
100%.
got Grichuk. They got like the guys we were hoping they would trade away. It's like, no, you can throw him out there. Like you can put Rowdy and like you can move guys around. It's like, you're kind of built for that. Now, the issue that we were all talking about is it's an oblique. Oblique's a 4 to 6 week injury. What the fuck are we talking about here?
No, it's the worst kind of injury because every team acts like it's not a big deal.
Exactly.
Back in a week, day to day. So you're waiting on it. Oh, he'll be back next week, no problem. And then it's like, oh, wow, he's hurt again.
Yeah.
If it was just like, oh, he broke a finger or whatever, then it's like, he's out.
Exactly.
Oh, this is the worst, almost the worst.
And with our April schedule, like, we should take our time with him. Like, we have a very winnable April schedule with or without him. So there's no point in, like, rushing him in for, just to start the season. Like, we need to be very careful with him.
That's the thing. Like, George Springer's bat, like, he is an impact bat. That's why you brought him in. That's what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to play center field for you. And obliques are let it heal fully. Don't make him play through it and then get hurt 3 weeks into the season and actually miss 4 to 6 weeks. Like, don't fuck with it when you have all of these extra outfielders. Like, we have these guys. They exist. You paid Randall Grichuk fucking $10 million a year. Use him. Would I rather George Springer? Yes. Are we going to use Randall Grichuk because he's available? Apparently. Not to mention Jonathan Davis made the team. He's had a great spring. We'll see if it continues, but the spring's been great, and he plays a hell of a center field.
He was pretty decent last year, too.
Yeah, he had moments. And again, he's the best defensive center fielder.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tony, what?
He's an athlete.
He's an athlete.
Center field.
Exactly. Excellent analysis.
But yeah, the bigger issue for us, though, is you were saying earlier, those pitching injuries. We are not sustained. We're not able to sustain too many of those.
No, you can't have that. And like the first one that's like soul crushing is Nate Pearson. And like I'll get into that in my breakout thing because like you can't. There's not really much to talk about. Like Nate Pearson's supposed to be an ace. He's supposed to be the top of the rotation. He's supposed to be ready to go. And now he's not again. So that's a problem. And then Robbie Ray. Hey, he's been great. Looks awesome. Better than he's ever looked. Throwing harder. Lots of strikeouts. He tripped, he fell, it's a bruised elbow. It's not that big of a deal, except it's pitching elbow. And now he might miss a start, even though it wasn't a big deal. And it might be on the DL 10 days, or the IL, but it's going to be one turn. It's just 10 days. You guys, I don't believe anything. I don't believe anything they say about a pitcher's elbow.
Every injury we have right now. It's pretty frightening.
Well, they're trying to keep everyone excited still. They're trying to say, tune in. It's going to be a great season. Look what we did this offseason. And it's going to be a disaster, at least early on.
And this is the issue. We discussed it earlier. We need a middle rotation arm, like not a Steven Matz, like an actual consistent guy we can bring in. We didn't really address that. And we kind of relied on these guys, and now we relied on Pearson to be a guy. And that
Exactly.
even with him healthy is a question mark. The guy's very young. So now we're starting to see the issues with that, and we're going to face those problems until we make a trade for another pitcher.
Well, this year, like in the off season, like it was tough because it was such a slim pitching market. It was either go hard for Bauer, which like glad we did. It was either him or like you're overpaying for Odorizzi. Like that's your other option. So they were in a tough.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like you would have hoped that they would have made some trades, augmented the pitching staff, because you see guys like Manoah and you see Simeon Woods-Richardson, and they're interesting, but Simeon Woods-Richardson hasn't pitched above A-ball. Neither has Alek Manoah. So Alek Manoah is older, and yeah, he pitched in college, but like I'd love to see like them be aggressive and have him make the team. But yeah, he looks good in spring, but yeah, we'll see in the major leagues. You know what I mean? Like he hasn't. Yeah. It doesn't happen a lot where you have a guy that hasn't faced hitters above A-ball, and then he just jumps into the big leagues and he's just as good. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, those guys could be great pitchers in a year or two, maybe even later this season. But you can't really rely on them. And then, like, Hatch gets hurt. That's a big deal because that's one of the guys you wanted for depth.
He was one of those guys last year who just came out of nowhere and was very, very productive. And the guy we were looking forward to seeing this year. Huh?
He would have been my sleeper.
Yeah, he looked great out of the pen. Awesome. He looked like he could be a starter too. You kind of saw it with the way he mixed up with a bunch of pitches. Like it was interesting watching him. So it sucks. The pitching injuries definitely suck.
I have another side thing. How many Tyler Chatwood innings are we going to see this year?
Oh God, Tyler Chatwood as a reliever. I'm not like, if he gets like 60, 70 innings, like that's fine. The innings I'm really terrified about are like, there better be 0 Tommy Milone innings.
Oh, there will be
0.
He's going to get a few starts in April.
Yeah.
If you think Tanner O'Rourke gives up bombs, dear God, Tommy Milone is bad. He better never face the Yankees once. And honestly, I don't even know who he could face. Like, I'm thinking about like, oh, no, he can't face the Red Sox because they suck, but they got some kids that can really hit the ball a long way. And it's like, oh, who else can you? Oh, the Orioles. Oh, they suck, but they got some kids that can hit the ball a long way. The Rays are really the only team. And then it's like, oh, wait, they still got guys like Randy Rose. Oh, God, they got some guys.
I'd say the Tigers.
He can pitch second half of double headers against the Orioles.
0 Tommy Milone innings. 0. That's. I don't want to see him at all. Yeah, he wears 69. Nice. It's funny. Whatever. Cool. Haha. He sucks. He's not good. Please, God, I don't want to see any of those innings. He's a dude you bring to spring training just because you need to fill out innings. He better not make your roster ever. I don't know. You guys want to talk anything more about the injuries? I'm just going to jump right into the breakout.
Kirby Yates.
Oh, we need to talk about it.
Yeah, we didn't even get to fucking.
How we just overlooked every red flag and said, "Fuck it, we'll see if it works."
That was the thing. We all talked. We were so happy about Yates. It's like, yeah, the injuries. Yes, yeah, they're taking a risk. Yeah, he could be so good. And then it turns out that there was a reason that literally everyone passed on his physical, and it ended up citing him. Yeah, because he needed fucking Tommy John. I love how this always comes out like when these injuries happen. It's like, yeah, he failed the physical, but he was close, and we don't know. And it's just like, he literally blew his elbow out like the first time he tried. Like.
So you're telling me this on the look for? How much?
5.5. 5.5.
Again, I don't care about the money because we have money, but it's
the risk was worth it because here's the thing: if he does pitch and he is what he was supposed to, you know what I mean? Like, then it's completely worth it. And this is literally the worst case scenario because you got 0 fucking innings out of him. It sucks.
It's still decent though.
It was good last year, but the problem was just it gets overworked because of this rotation.
Well, and Charlie, the way he uses it, like
showing Yamaguchi high leverage spots, not the best bullpen management.
Well, Charlie, this will be a theme during this fucking season is how quickly I lose it on Charlie Montoyo just because I'm not a fan. But yeah, like the way he uses the bull, like they have guys that should be good, and I thought, okay, like if Kirby Yates is down, you're gonna get maybe a Dolis closing situation, and Jordan Romano is the guy who comes out in the like biggest emergency situation. You know what I mean? Like runners on, you need to just get out of the inning. you bring in him, it doesn't matter what inning it is, he gets out of it and then pitches the next inning, kind of resets everything. But it sounds like Romano is going to be the closer, and Dolis is going to get that fireman type of job where he just comes in and puts it out. But what do you guys think? Because the rest of the bullpen is fine. They got other guys that can set them up. Like, I'm happy.
Yeah,
like it's a good.
Romano could be the closer. We still don't know yet. I think it's just going to be kind of a mini situation, whatever the situation calls for.
Yeah, I don't like the assigned roles thing. I kind of just like, using your best when you're available in the best leverage situation, but it's not usually how baseball works.
They like to get creative. Like, even though it's like, we're going to get creative, and it's like, Charlie's bunting. Why are we getting that? Like, that's not the creative. Why are we going back in time? Fuck off, Chucky. Like, this. Okay, yeah, see, it's already happened. We haven't even started the season yet.
I do have a depth piece in this bullpen who will possibly help out this year.
Okay, here we go. You know what? We'll just jump into the most surprising, because I know exactly who you're going to. So we'll start with the most surprising picks that we have for this season. We'll have like a most surprising offensive player, most surprising pitcher, if you got one. I got one for each. These are like, we have breakout guys we're going to get to after this most surprising thing. We'll just get to these. Who's your dude?
The height doesn't measure heart player of the year for the Toronto Blue Jays. The 24-year-old Ty Tice.
Steele's boy.
There was a little bit of buzz before him about him last year, where it was like, maybe I saw a few articles like Ty Tice, he's 5'9". That's the only issue with this guy. And 5'9" is not short. It's a decent height. It's just for a pitcher, everyone gets all out of sorts. But we had a pitcher 5'9". He was pretty good. And Ty Tice has a mid-90s fastball. And I think that with the way this season's going, with the way the injuries are piling up, there could be a situation where a guy like him is, decently useful. So he's been good this spring, had one blowout start, ignored against the Tigers, had 5 shutout appearances after that. So I think that's an option to look at if we are in need of a bullpen arm later in the year.
Sure. You've brought up Ty Tice before. I'm just like, okay.
The key is to bring up a guy no one knows, so then you can just make some shit up and you can.
Well, that's it. And if you do get lucky and he does become a thing, you get to live on that forever. It's like the dude who wrote that thing 4 years before the Astros won the World Series, where he called that they were going to win in that year. You know what I mean? It was like that dude just like he wrote a book about it and got to make all the money because he called it.
And it's hard to judge with some of these guys with no minor league season last year.
Exactly.
Like, we have no idea where any of them are at right now, but
it's just all scouting reports from the alternate site, which is a whole bunch of like great command and control. Okay, on what? We didn't see shit. My most surprising guy is a little bit more lighthearted for the pitching. Tanner Rourke. And the reason I say why he has the chance to be the most surprising is because he was so incredibly bad last year that if he is just a tick below minor league average, so if he's a below average pitcher, people are going to be completely happy with Tanner Rourke. And it's because this offense should be able to actually mash. So then Tanner Rourke allowing 4 runs in like 6 innings will actually be okay because they should be able to bash their way to more wins than not, and we'll just laugh. The other thing, though, is if he is as bad as he was last year for an entire season, I don't know how I don't know how you do that. Like, the way that the ball was leaving the ballpark last year. I mean, I know they deadened the baseball, so maybe he's got a chance, but my God, the man, he probably has whiplash just from the amount of times he had to turn around and watch the ball leave the yard. He is bad. He was awful. And he's going to start game 2 against the Yankees. Or no. Actually, yeah. Stripling's going to start game 2 against the Yankees. That's right. That's what they're going to do, allegedly.
Way better.
Yeah, because that's another dude who's not homer prone and hasn't allowed like 500-foot bombs. I'm pretty sure against the Yankees actually was one of those appearances he got just oh God.
I think
last year his velocity's dropped and he's become more wild. He's walking people and giving like.
Anthony said this. I don't know if it was on the podcast or if it was just to me personally, but he said if the Dodgers are giving rid of a pitcher, there's a very good reason for that, and that's we noticed it very quickly with him why they
exactly. If the Dodgers are giving away anything, be very skeptical about what they're trying to trade you. You know what I mean? Like, that's an organization that their best prospects don't get traded. They'll trade you everything else. You know what I mean? And like the guys they ask you for, it's it's a lot of things like what happened with San Diego and like Aaron Preller. It's like the random guys they ask you for, don't throw them into the deal. Because you know what's going to happen? That random 16-year-old you traded turns out to be Fernando Tatis Jr. That's a thing that happened. The White Sox traded him for James Shields. I guess just got to transition and a more serious, most surprising. Actually, Tony, you got a most surprising pitcher? You got anything you picked?
Well, not really. I guess
not really a most surprising, more of like a breakout.
But not really.
Okay, I guess I'll just jump to my like most surprising hitter because this one's a little bit more serious than Tanner Roark being a most surprising pitcher because I am not optimistic about Tanner Roark. It's going to be probably bad. But my most surprising pitcher, my most surprising hitter, the guy that I think like could have the biggest impact, and I don't actually think he's going to be like an all-star or anything. He's not going to have some like massive season. I think Danny Jansen is just going to be a major league average hitter, which for a catcher is actually all-star level. But hear me out here. The reason I think this, Danny Jansen has now been in the big leagues long enough. He's comfortable. He's a catcher. They had to teach him how to catch. Remember that talk for the last year and a half that he wasn't a good catcher, and then it was like, okay, he's a good catcher, but he can't throw out base runners. And then by the end of last season, he was actually throwing out base runners. There's no more of that talk this season. There's no more about teaching Danny what he has to do as a catcher. On top of that, this is the first time where they have pitchers returning. And not just like a whole bunch of dudes we've never seen before, nobody's ever heard of. And Danny Jansen is like, hi, my name's Danny, catching you in a major league team for the first time. And you got DFA'd. Hi, my name's Danny, catching another pitcher in the big leagues for a new. He knows these guys and he knows their repertoire. So it's a lot less work that he has to do to get to know his pitchers. These are guys he's already worked with. Then on top of that, this is the easiest workload he's ever going to have had because Alejandro Kirk's making this team. They've already said that he's made the team. Well, he's been told, alleged. Like, there's a bunch of reports that's come out about it. He's going to be their backup catcher. Kirk's good. Kirk could hit. And the best part about that is when Danny actually looked good last year was when Kirk came up and kind of stole his job. And then you saw the Danny Jansen 3 home run game. And then you saw Danny Jansen kind of looking like a problem at the plate. And if Danny Jansen is only catching probably not 2, he's going to catch 3 of the 5 starters because he's the veteran and they're going to make Kirk win the job. But like Danny Jansen could be a fine catcher because he just has so much less going on this year. You know what I mean? He gets a chance to just be a major league player and not try to figure out everything on the fly. And again, I'm not saying that here's a dude who's going to hit 300. He's not going to hit 30 bombs. He's not going to have a 400 on base. But like, tell me, if Danny Jansen hit like 265 with like a 330 on base, would you not be fucking ecstatic?
Take that from Gritchuk.
Elite catcher room.
You know what I mean? Like, but that's what we're talking about. It's like, here's a dude who could be fine. You know what I mean? He could be a fine offensive player, but because of the position he plays, that could be unbelievable. And because and if you look at his minor league track record, he's always hit. He's always hit. Well, when he, got glasses and, could see the ball and like then his career exploded, that's when he started hitting. He was an offensive player. So maybe it starts to come in a little bit. I don't know. He's kind of he's my like serious, most surprising dude. I don't know. Do you guys have any most surprising people before we just jump into like breakout?
That's a great pick. Like, I didn't even consider Danny. He's probably the most overlooked player on this team right now because Kirk is getting headlines all over Major League Baseball. Everyone's excited about him. And Jansen, it just feels like he has been thrown to the side. So that would be ideal if he's the guy who comes up and is that surprise candidate.
And
he's Hyunjin Ryu's personal catcher. Like that's like, you know what I mean? Like if you notice the way this has gone, like Robbie Ray is thrown exclusively to Kirk. Like they have kind of broken it up. I think it's Ray and Matz that have thrown with Kirk, if I'm correct. Those 2 lefties have thrown almost exclusively with him. And you've had Danny Jansen catch like Roark. Actually, Roark was working with Kirk too. But I know Danny catches they're kind of setting everything up, you know what I mean, for these guys to be there. So I don't know. I'm interested to see what Danny can do this year. You know what I mean? I really am because, again, I'm not expecting a like super flashy. But he doesn't really need to be with the rest of this lineup. Like he should be their 8 or 9 hitter.
Just rest in peace, Reese McGuire. I think that's.
Oh God, yeah, he's done.
Just,
and like he's not going to be a Blue Jay. Like, because here's the thing: like he's bad, but he's a catcher. Someone's going to claim a catcher that's not 30 that can catch and throw because he can do that.
And
I mean, he can
have
also
two
jerk
other
off in the
guys
parking lot, but
well, it happens.
fucking Reese McGuire, like
We
that.
also have two other guys in the system who are coming up and are probably going to be.
Well, look at Riley Adams. He's had a pretty good spring. He's hit a couple of dingers. Like he's They have guys, and Riley Adams is 24, right? He's not a kid. Like he is. Well, he's a kid. He's younger than me, considering I'm fucking old man now. But like, you know what I mean? Like in relative terms. I don't know. Y'all got breakout guys you want to jump on?
Tony, want to
go? For me, I'll just say it's Rowdy. It's Rowdy time. Now there's not a lot of competition at the DH position as much as there has been in the past. And last year,
especially with Springer, like with something, right? Like that takes a body out of it.
Exactly. He was always kind of like, where is he going to make the team? Is he not? Like he was always kind of like on the fringe, but now he has a spot on the team. Really, it's how they're going to manage the DH situation. That's going to be interesting. Because with Springer out, you're going to have Grichuk in center most days. So that means DH will be open. They're not going to put Jonathan Davis at DH. It's the worst idea ever. So
no, he'd be playing center, and they'd be DHing like Teoscar or Grichuk or something.
Like that's the thing. It's like if they're going to like put Grichuk shouldn't be stealing at bats from Rowdy Tellez. Unless against left, 100%. He's like looking at his baseball savant page right now. Hard hit percentage, 81%. Like super high ratings on that. It's really impressive. It's just a matter about him not chasing as many pitches, staying a little more disciplined at the plate, but all the foundation is there for him to have a big year this
year. I can get behind Rowdy. I can see that. Theo, who are your guys? I know we have a similar pitcher. Or we have the same pitcher. What do you mean fucking similar? It's the same dude.
Yeah, but it's nothing surprising because this lineup is so talked about and it's so known. I'm not going with Grichuk. I'm tired of Grichuk. I'm not putting him at the bust-out candidate. I thought that last year. I'm done with that. Mine is more of just a continuation, like a prove your legit year from Teoscar Hernandez.
Because I can get behind that.
We've had this conversation about how you're kind of on the fence. I'm fully in. I think Anthony's fully in on him being a legit guy. The strikeout rate's a problem. I don't know how much better he can get with that because I think it's about 30% strikeout rate. It's just, it's
I think that came here. Let me look it up. You keep going because I think it came down a bit.
But in his last 530 plate appearances, 132 weighted runs created. Like he's a legit guy, and I think that it's going to be proven again this year. With the other bats in this lineup, I think he is kind of getting overlooked. But I think, Teoscar Hernandez is going to be the guy who continues to prove that he is the guy he was last year, and maybe not to the level, but he will be an above-average bat, which we do need at the end of that lineup.
Yeah, he did end up having a 30% K rate last year, even though he had
because when he makes contact, it's just like it's like it's Rowdy. When they contact, they're going to do damage to the baseball. It's just that strikeout rate that needs to come down.
Teoscar.
Yeah.
At best for me, because you can carry, you can't be 30%. Like you got to drop that down about 5%. But like, you know who else had numbers kind of similar to this? Matt Kemp. Matt Kemp, when he was good before all the injuries, like he struck out a lot. He didn't walk a whole ton, but he hit for a high average. And like, it's funny actually. George Springer early in his career, though, he hit for a much lower average, right? But then George Springer became a much better player than Matt Kemp ended up being, but Matt Kemp had all those injuries. Yeah, like that's the thing. Like I told you guys this last year. Like I just got to see Rowdy do it over an entire season, or not Rowdy, Teoscar, because Rowdy too, but Teoscar because he made all those changes. Like one thing that I've noticed that has stayed, even it looks like in spring training, is he Ks at 30%, but he doesn't swing at every single slider to his back foot anymore. You know what I mean? Like there were certain things he used to do. Like remember Colby Rasmus, who swung at every breaking ball down and in? It didn't matter. It didn't matter. It could hit him. I loved Colby Rasmus back in the day. I thought he was going to be a star. Clearly that did not happen. But every pitch down and in he swung at. And Teoscar used to do this, like anything down, like anything out of the zone, he'd just flail out. That was a breaking pitch. He doesn't do that as much. But yeah, he can't
Kevin
really
Pillar thing too. Kevin Pillar is my example of just swinging at everything. You just turn the TV
off. Without that much success.
No.
He's also the perfect example of like, don't you dare listen to a guy being like, I've made all these changes in spring, because Kevin Pillar used to make all these changes in spring, and then the first slump, like he'd get off to a fast start, and then the first slump, like a month in, he would fall apart and be back to being the exact same player.
It's hard to improve at the major league level, especially when you're at a certain age. Most guys can't do it.
Exactly. Well, that's why, you know what I mean? That's why big leaguers don't have super long careers, and the ones that do are, you know what I mean? That's why they celebrate and they make a lot of money. It's fucking hard to do. You know what I mean? Baseball is not easy. My offense, I guess I'll throw out my offensive breakout dude, and then I'll jump to my pitcher. Marcus Simeon. That's my guy. They're going to move him to second base, but it's twofold. Marcus Simeon. It's what he did in 2019 when he was so goddamn good, and it's pulling him out of the ballpark he played in Oakland. It's the fact that he's going to be in so much more of an offensive friendly environment everywhere he pitches, but specifically 81 of those games, which are going to be like either a little bit in Dunedin, maybe in Buffalo, and apparently everyone's getting vaccinated, so it might even be fucking MLB games at some point in Toronto, which would be fucking great. I need beers to Dome. You fucking shoot me up with the vaccine and get me in the Dome so I can get drunk and watch baseball again, because this needs to happen. But anyways, enough fucking pandemic talk. The combination of what Marcus Simeon has done and the fact that they're getting him into this division, like, fuck, man, like, that could be a game. Like, you could have, like, at best, you're talking about, like, potentially 30-plus home runs, 360-plus on base, a guy that hits, like, 270-plus to 280. You know what I mean? Can steal some bases, can play high-end defense. Like, think about all the things that Marcus Simeon could do, and you can understand why I start yelling. It's very exciting what he can do. We don't know if he's going to be able to do it, but if he can do it here, like, fuck, man, he could be one of the best offensive players on a team that should be chocked full of them. You know what I mean? They really should be. And like, we're not even like we haven't even really mentioned it, but I'll just say it right here. Vladdy and Nate Pearson have to be what they're supposed to be. Like, all the stuff that Vladdy's doing, and he's in shape, and like, we're not talking about it a lot because we talked about it in like the first 3 like off-season episodes. Like, he has to be that.
Yeah.
If he's not that, this, like, you know what I mean? The season isn't going to be.
He's raking the spring. Like, it looks
exactly.
Like I'm very confident.
And that's the thing. Like, I kind of don't want to talk about it until it starts happening, because like once it happens in the regular season, I'm going to get excited because he's done this in spring before. Remember fucking Montreal when he was still fat Vladdy and he was fucking hit that dinger? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we've seen some magic. Yeah. So it's in the fucking home run derby. Like, we've seen him do things. Like, I wanted to carry into the regular season. And Nate Pearson has to come back from this injury and has to be like, but that's like, they have to be like, there's no fucking around. Like, that's what they have to be. And the guys we're talking about are like, hey, if this guy does this, like, you know what I mean? The season could be, they could win the division, right? Like, that's what could happen. But like, these aren't guys where it's like, I bet that this is going to happen. Vladdy has to be a thing. Pearson has to be a thing. Just the way it is.
Yeah. And you look at overall, like Bichette, Biggio, they're all going to get better too. And it's just a given that but I think there's other levels they're both going to hit. And
look like just the fantasy projections for Bo. Like, I did 2 drafts yesterday. Like, I did our draft, which was an auction draft, and I did another draft, which is just like a normal snake redraft league. Yahoo has him projected for 44 doubles, 22 home runs. Like, they have some huge numbers for Bo, like 20+ steals, which he hasn't really stolen bases in the big leagues. We know he can, but like, he's also had some injury issues with his lower half that's kind of prevented him from stealing bases. But like, the Jays stole a lot of bases in spring training. Actually, they're number 2 in steals. So that, like, I don't know, man. I'm fucking excited. You know what I mean? Like, this has like this is. We talk about the pitching staff.
Opposite to what our pitching takes.
Dude, this could look so much. I think I talked about this with you guys, like, when this happened, like, a couple weeks ago. Like, this could be like 2015 before the trade deadline, where this team is like struggling to stay around 500, and they're destroying baseballs, but they can't be in some games like that. Like, before the trade deadline, they still had Josh Donaldson, Edwin Encarnacion, and Jose Bautista, and they were all still on pace for 40 bombs. Mm-hmm. That was all a thing before the trade deadline. You know what I mean? Like, that was all true. So it'll be interesting to see how this team goes. Hopefully it's a little better. I guess I'll go into my pitching breakout guy, and then I'll throw it over to you guys because I'm fucking talking a lot. The main dude I'm kind of interested here. Steven Matz, and it's not because like I was a huge anti-Steven Matz guy to both of you guys when this happened and to anyone that asked me about it. Because I was like, oh, okay, cool. You play in a homer-friendly place. You took him out of a place that suppressed homers. And you already have the problem of Tanner Roark, who can't fucking do anything but allow home runs. And now you're going to add left-handed Tanner Roark, who just came off his career worst season where he allowed the most home runs. Oh, great idea, front office. Oh, and you're going to pay him $5.5 million? Like, why did you not give money to James Paxton? I was very upset. Yes, Matz has looked good in the spring, but I think the most intriguing thing about him looking good in the spring, and he talked about this, and Pete Walker talked about this before the spring, and then we've seen it actually been put into action. They had a plan for Steven Matz, and they talked about making Steven Matz more of a ground ball pitcher. So I actually looked into his Fangraphs number. In 2016, when he had that his 132 innings, that great season, you know what I mean? Where everyone looks at Steven Matz, and he looked like it was going to be Matz and Harvey and DeGrom and Syndergaard, and they were going to have just this insane rotation in New York. You know what I mean? They were just going to be unstoppable. And it didn't really happen that way. But that was the highest Steven Matz's ground ball percentage has ever been in the big leagues. It was 51%. Now, a ground ball pitcher gets above 50% ground balls, right? Marcus Strowman, for Jays fans, was an extreme ground ball pitcher. He's one of the best in the game at getting ground balls. He was around 60%. 61%, right? Like, I know these are numbers and they're kind of boring and it sounds ridiculous. Matt's the last few years has been around 47%, right? So he's been below 50% ground balls. I don't see a lot of the data, but I've noticed in his starts, he's getting a fuck ton of ground balls in the spring, and him and Pete Walker are talking about how they're trying to do that, how they're throwing two-seamers and actively looking for contact and actively looking for ground balls. That is a real change that if it carries over, and Steven Matz, I'm not talking about Steven Matz looking like that pitcher that everyone thought was going to be like the number 3 starter in New York. I'm talking more about a dude who just has like a 4.15, 4.20 something, 4.30 ERA, but it's just consistent and keeps you into games. Because this defense should be good enough that they should be able to make the plays behind him. And this offense should be good enough that they should be able to win games. So if Steven Matz can not give up a bazillion fucking home runs, keep the ball on the ground, and keep the team in games, that's already a massive upgrade over most of the guys we've seen at the back end of the Jays rotation in recent years. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I think he could be a breakout pitcher. And it's not even, again, it's kind of like when I was talking about Danny Jansen, where I'm like, I'm not talking about like Marcus Simeon, where it's like, oh my God, this dude could be an all-star. It's more like, this dude could be a really useful 4. Like, this is a guy that could really help you have a good 162 game season. You know what I mean? Like, not have throwaway games keep you around. That's kind of how I got it for pitching. What do you guys got?
That's who I had.
Yeah, well, I know we had the same guy.
Yeah. Tony,
was the same reasons though too? Like, you had the same thing about his ground balls and Pete Walker and all that shit.
I saw one Wilner tweet and I'm like, I'm sold. The first spring training game, that's all it takes for me. That's how I sold on Ty Tice too.
Oh yeah, he's a big Wilner guy. Or
that one little thing.
Wilner's like, a big Ty Tice guy.
That wasn't Wilner. That was a different. I saw it somewhere else. But
okay, Tony, who you got?
For me, I'm going to talk about Tyler Chatwood. You mentioned him earlier. As a start, like, I remember right when we signed him, like, what the hell are you doing? This guy's I've hated him for a long time. As a starter, like, super erratic, I
lost everyone.
When I went to Wrigley Field a couple of years ago, and he started against the Cleveland Indians. Okay, I don't think he got through 2 innings. He walked like 5 guys. They lost 10-0. It was a frustration.
Jesus.
He was really garbage, and that's the kind of memory that's kind of stuck with me. But he's not starting anymore. For the first time, he's going to be in the bullpen, and his stuff plays in the bullpen. He's got a super high spin rate, throws hard, gets a lot of swing and miss. So it's going to be about throwing strikes, same problems as normal. But there is a lot of variance here, but that includes a high variance as well, with him striking out a ton of guys. He's healthy and he throws a few more strikes than normal, then we could get a good reliever. But as with any reliever, anything can happen.
I like him as a reliever. Like, as a reliever, I think he could be an interesting part of the bullpen. When they signed him, though, I was like, this dear God, he better not start.
Yeah.
Dear God, for everything Tony said, because Tyler Chatwood, like, if you don't know who Tyler Chatwood is, just go look at his Fangraphs page. It's those walks per 9. Y'all thought Robbie Ray was bad last year when his walks per 9 were 9. Go look at Tyler Chatwood. You know what I mean? Like, he does not have a great history of doing shit like that. It's fucking ugly. I guess just quickly we'll touch on it since none of us had him as like our breakout pitcher. Robbie Ray's look great. I want to see it in the regular season. You know what I mean? Because Robbie Ray's got plenty of other issues. But the fact that he's like humping it up there like 97, an honorable mention to Anthony Kay, who's also throwing 97. Like, I don't know where the fuck that came from.
That should have been my
very
pick.
intrigued. Like, I am very intrigued. The only reason he wasn't really my pick is because he looked great. And the first time he played the Yankees, they just fucking, like, they teed off on him. It was yesterday. Was that? Yeah, I think it was yesterday. Yeah, it was pretty fucking ugly. You boys got anything else before we want to just jump into like the season prediction, like the like kind of like win totals thing, and then like what the playoff picture might look like?
No, we can go right there now. I have them all written out if you want me to just
go for it. Take the lead.
So we'll go through the division first, I guess. Boston Red Sox 80.5, which is interesting because the Red Sox are either amazing or they stink. They're not usually in the middle. So you're either going to win that by a lot or lose that by a lot. So 80.5, what do you guys think about the Boston Red Sox?
I think they're going to be so fucking bad, dude. Tony, I don't know. Like, you disagreed?
Yeah, thinking around average. So I was thinking around 500 tops.
What makes you guys think they could be average? Like, I'll jump into why I think they're terrible.
Why
do you think?
Still got Bogarts. Still got, JD Martinez is kind of old. I don't know.
JD Martinez, I'm calling this right now. JD Martinez might be Chris Davis 2.0. I'm just going to jump on that right now because he's had some ugly at-bats this spring.
You know how bad Chris Davis is? It's hard to get that bad in Major Leagues.
I know, but like, we're looking at a dude who's built the same too, like a really big dude. You know what I mean? Big, muscular dude. Like, Chris look Davis, at the way his swing. I just look at. I don't know, man. That swing and the way he's like looked lost at times. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I don't think he's coming back. I think he's toast. And on top of that, like, Bogarts is good. Devers could be good. And then after that, like
2 years ago.
Christian Vasquez.
Oh,
he
could be all right.
Tickle your fancy.
Right. Bobby Dalbec hits dingers, but like, again, I want to see that in the major leagues over 162.
Verdugo's decent too.
I like Verdugo a lot. Verdugo is actually a dude I like a lot, but who pitches? Ryan Weber and Nick Pivetta. Like, and their bullpen is bad. Like, it's just sorry. It's just I like,
fail at all. Even when he comes back, I don't have expectations at all. But he was disaster last time I saw him. So I don't know. But like,
that's the thing. Like,
around 81 wins kind of the ceiling to me.
But even if they start sucking, they're gonna just sell off and even suck even more probably. Like, it's tough to see them at 500. It's either they surprise and start buying, or they just stinking.
That's kind of why I'm thinking they're gonna be bad. Like, we're talking. If you guys have numbers, like, I know Theo just threw out 80.5. Like, I got the Red Sox as like a 70-ish win team. Like, they are not 70 wins, but like in the 70s of wins, because I just don't think they're very good. You know what I mean? I think they have so many problems.
And the schedule's gonna be terrible with the NL East, AL East. It's just gonna be.
Well, do you guys all have the Orioles at the very bottom? We agree. Like, they got some interesting dudes, but like Matt Harvey's, there's like, do we have to say more than Matt Harvey's their number 2 starter? Do we really have to get in depth? Like,
that's pretty much enough to explain the team.
The Orioles have some interesting young players, but like Matt Harvey's gonna be your number 2 starter. So, okay, cool, cool story, bro.
Was Means one?
Yeah,
probably. Actually, not probably. Definitely.
Felix. They tried Felix out.
And he's been done
for like 5 years.
Right? He's been done since he was like 32. Granted, he started at like 17, but right? Yeah. I don't know. So those are the 2 teams that I guess we have at the bottom. Or do you guys have the Rays above the Red Sox? Does any of you have the Red Sox above the Rays?
No.
Okay, dude, so the bottom.
I don't even think
because like I got the Orioles like a 60 some odd win team. You know what I mean? Let me find
their number. That was the one number I didn't grab because I just completely forgot they existed.
Yeah.
Baltimore, like 63.5.
Yeah, like
they're getting 100 losses.
They could, because again, like John, like, do they call up any of the young pitchers that are interesting for them, or do they all stay down because they don't want to burn any of their service time and they're all super young? They don't have like John Means type who's like 25, right? They have a bunch of super. Well, they got one dude. Oh, what the hell is his name? Mike Bauman, who could be okay. But that's one guy. You know what I mean? Like everyone else is super young, like the DL Halls and the Grayson Rodriguez's. Like these are guys that are like 20, 21 that are like years away. You know what I mean? So like they have no pitching. Just none. So they're going to be bad.
The Rays are at, I think the Rays are 85.5. They're the toughest team to read, I think.
And that's actually kind of where I see the Jays. Like the Jays and the Rays, like I see is basically the same. And it's not because the Rays have a bunch of talent. Like the Rays have they got Tyler Glasnow and a bunch of dudes. You know what I mean? Like think about that Rays team. Like think about what they've lost in Charlie Morton and Blaze. Like think about what they've lost in the bullpen.
Those two guys and feel good about their rotation.
Exactly. The only reason I think we're all sitting here being like, yeah, they're probably about the same level as the Jays is because when in history have they not just always, one, beat the hell out of the Jays even when they were bad, and two, they're just always good even when they shouldn't be. So it's kind of hard to look at them and be like, oh, they're going to be terrible and they're not going to be as good as the Blue Jays. Like, and the thing is like, I'm not looking at them and being like, well, I can give you concrete reasons that they're going to be just as good as the Blue Jays. I can't. Can either of you? Like, is there any can you dig into anything and be like, this is why they're going to be just as good?
Like, how do you think Rosanna is he going to be like what he was in the playoffs?
I have no idea. I don't think that's going to continue. Like, I think Randy Arozarena could be a fine player, but I don't think he's going to, be a dude who hits 65 home runs.
I'm an anti-Kiermaier guy too.
He's always hurt. And he's a defense for right? Like he's a defense first dude whose contract they're trying to dump.
Tony, say that again. None of that came.
Yeah, he cut out. I didn't hear any of that.
Yeah, it's just the back gets worse every single year. It's really
And when he gets hurt, it's not minor things. Like he broke his hip.
Yeah.
He's not 60. He broke his hip. There's a thing that happened to him. Like.
A lot of pitchers just fell on the stairs, so
that's true. Yeah, you got a bruised elbow. We'll see.
When's Franco coming up? Is there any?
I have no idea. I have him in both fantasy leagues because once he got he looks so good.
Well,
you guys see him in spring training?
Earliest, right?
Oh, huh?
July at the earliest.
Well, he's definitely getting through the minor league service time bullshit, and they're definitely going to want to probably have him play at a level. You know what I mean? Like he's probably going to play at AAA before he gets called up to the big leagues.
Yeah.
So yeah, July. That's probably a good one, Tony.
But yeah, you were asking who I like I like Rich Hill, just because I'm the Rays.
He's probably gonna be good for. You know who else is gonna be good for them just because it's the Rays? Michael Wacha, who fell apart. He peaked in his debut in the playoffs. Slowly got worse until he was unusable last year with the Royals. Watch him just be amazing because it's the Rays. Yeah. That's just
You exactly. See it now, Steve. You see how this
No,
goes?
that's what I mean. Like, but literally, look at all the guys we're listing off here. We're talking about a pure rotation of scrap behind Glasnow. Yeah. Just a bunch of shit behind Tyler Glasnow.
Yarbrough's a Jays killer. So
Yarbrough's actually good though. He's the one that's actually but think about it, of all those dudes, he's the one that's actually good, and it makes no sense because he throws fucking 86. You know what I mean? He throws 3 pitches. They all look like the same cutter slider thing. You know what I mean? Like all his pitches look the same. They all go 86. No one can hit them. No Blue Jays can hit them. He's infuriating. Actually, random name. I don't know if anyone's old enough to remember this of YouTube, but Andy Sonnenstein in that year with fucking Carlos Pena, where the Rays made the fucking World Series, he was a dude who threw 88, and the Jays couldn't hit him. And he had a terrible career. But that year he was good, and he was sucked ever since. And all I remember as a kid was him dominating the Blue Jays. And that was Ivan Longoria's debut season. And that was the first time they were the Rays and not the Devil Rays. Anyways, random tangent.
So are we going over the 85.5 or?
Yeah.
It really depends on how you think of the Blue Jays.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I think the Jays and the Rays are kind of fighting, and I think they're both probably 86 win teams, unless it's a fucking catastrophic, something terrible happens. The interesting thing, though, is the top end, because I don't see the Jays being a 90-win team. I don't.
Unless we make trades.
Yeah, right?
But they're not.
And here's the thing. Let's just get into it as we start talking about pitching. The Yankees have an established lineup that we all look at and go, yeah, that's the best offense in the division, right? And then you look at their bullpen, you're like, yeah, that's the best bullpen. And then you're like, oh, wait. Britton's hurt. Chapman's another year older. Right? Like that. Let's see how good their bullpen actually is and who are their starting pitchers. Because
Corey Kluber,
and this isn't 2015 anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Corey Kluber he's done.
He's their 2 for now.
Yeah, and he's toast. Jameson Taillon, I hope. He's Canadian. He's had cancer, 2 Tommy Johns. So you hope he's good, but did you not just listen to the things I said that he's been through? Like, are you banking on that? Really, you are banking on that as a starting? Okay.
Is pro cancer confirmed?
Whoa, Theo.
Kidding.
Whoa. No, but I cheer for I root for him on an emotional level. He's a Yankee. I hate the Yankees. Fuck the Yankees. But as a human being, I hope he somehow ends up not on the Yankees so I can hope that he does well. You know what I mean? So something happens where he's not a Yankee anymore so he can just do well and I can feel good about it. It's kind of what I want to happen here. Is that wrong?
Well, it's a very specific goal.
Everything turns out well.
I'm not a good person, but I don't think I'm evil.
What are you saying?
Throw that on the tables.
If everything works out for him, then he'll never leave the Yankees. So you have to make a choice.
And then you'll hate him.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
And just because Yankee fans will even if he's average, he'll be talked up.
Oh my God, he'll be a god.
He's gonna get Cy Young votes.
Probably.
But even this lineup, they have so many injury-prone guys.
They always do, and they still crush it every year.
That's because every guy they call up, and because it's not just the prospects, it's the random ass Mike Tauchman comes up and hits fucking 300. You know what I mean? Yeah. Gio Urshela turns into an all-star. On top of when they randomly have guys not randomly, when they actually have their prospects come up. You got Clint Frazier and you had Andahar and you know what I mean? You had guys come up, Gary Sanchez before that and Judge and we'll see. I just don't want to write them off because they have a bunch of guys that are going to get hurt, but at the same time, they always seem to just cruise along and hit a bunch of dingers. Although Luke Voigt, that's kind of a big loss.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But again, they always find a way. Yeah. So I guess Andahar now is the first baseman. Remember when he was
Jay Bruce.
He's their first baseman.
Yeah.
Yeah, for now. I think it's be Andahar if he can learn how to hit again. You know what I mean?
And about that guy.
They have a lot of options internally.
They'll call up random dudes.
And even them, they could build up a big lead and then just sleep through July. This is where their total is not, at 95 very high because they're going to have some moments where they have so many injuries and they're just kind of saying, okay, get to the playoffs and we'll deal with it then. So,
but their starting pitching is bad. I can't see them being a super have a ton of wins with that starting pitching.
And I don't think Kluber's looked good in spring too. That's an issue. They need him to be good.
He's not good. And do you think Severino's coming back anytime soon? Because that's been 2 years now.
They're banking on him coming back mid-season.
Think about how long it's been since he was pitching, and then think about how long it's been since he was good. Because it's been even longer since he was good.
Yeah, those are nice flat fastball for everybody. It's hard, but.
Fastball slider. They were great, and then he got hurt. So, the Yankees got a lot of issues.
They're going to need Debbie to come up and just be, which I don't think he's starting the season.
He's also hurt. You know what I mean? They have so many fucking issues, and
hate to see it.
So that's the thing. So I think the AL East is interesting because the Yankees should be the division winner, but all the stuff we talk with the Jays. Maybe there's a path for a bunch of different things to happen here. Well, it's more maybe the Rays because it's probably the Rays that figure out a way to fucking glue it together with duct tape and fucking bubble gum and smoke and mirrors and win 97 games because of the fucking Rays. But
yeah, we should talk about the Jays because you said it earlier. This is the 2015 Jays where the offenses just look like it's going to be unbeatable, and they could be hovering around 500 by the trade deadline. And with the extra wild card spot, and there's no way they're not in it if they're 500 at the deadline.
But here's the thing, so I was talking about this with you guys when we were kind of game planning for the pod. the AL West is a problem because this isn't expanded playoffs. It's the old playoffs. Only 5 teams make it. There's 2 wild cards. You know what I mean? 3 division winners, 2 wild cards. So you would hope the Jays, like the way we're talking, the Yankees are a division winner, so you're hoping the Jays are a wild card. But we're also talking about it like the Rays are going to be in there. Well, then you have to go to the other divisions, and like the Central's trash, right? So like the White Sox should run away with that division. The Tigers aren't good, and the Royals aren't good. What happens if Cleveland and the Twin and like Minnesota, like what happens if they beat the hell out of the other teams enough that they have win totals that start giving the Jays a problem, right? And that's a bad division. Now start looking at the juggernauts that could be the Oakland A's are going to be a problem. The Astros lose people, but they're the Astros. They still have like we'll see if Altuve's falling apart and that pitching staff. That's where it might be, in a bridge too far. But then again, if Yordan Alvarez hits, an OPS, if he's another fucking 1100 OPS, I think they might be just fine, right? Like you can see how the Astros could still be good. This might be the best Angels team that Mike Trout has ever been on.
Really?
What's a better one? Think about it. Like I'm going through those teams.
They won 100 games in 2015. So maybe the second.
They won 100 games in 2015?
They lost in like the first round, yeah.
American League team.
Baltimore. No, not Baltimore. Who was it?
Kansas City.
Yeah.
Kansas City beat them? I don't even remember them being in the playoffs.
Yeah, that was just one playoff.
That's probably why.
Yeah. They got swept.
Oh, that was the year that Trout was winning the MVP till they played the Jays, and then Trout had that fucking rib injury, and then Josh Donaldson hit like 5 home runs in that series and won the MVP basically in that series. Yeah. They won 100 games that year?
Well, that
was the random Pujols resurgence year where he hit like 35 dingers and looked like he was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that.
And Josh Donaldson was like not smoking crack, or not Josh Donaldson. Hamilton was like not smoking crack and not beating his children and like not being just a degenerate fucking human being.
Allegedly. I think there were other reasons.
Allegedly.
We have to say allegedly, right? Isn't that how that works?
I mean, he did smoke crack. That is a fact.
He did all of those things. So
the thing with the Angels is too, the pitching. It's the opposite of the Rays. You look at them, and no matter who's in their team, you think they're going to stink.
But here's the thing. This is the difference. This is the first year where I look at their pitching and I go, oh, they're actually kind of good. Like I look at Andrew Heaney and I'm like, he's pretty good. You're right. Dylan Bundy, you actually had a really good year last year because you escaped the trash birds in that awful organization. Like, no duh. Look, Kevin Gausman and Andrew Bundy. Look what Kevin Gausman and Dylan Bundy. Hey, look, they get out of Baltimore. Both of them are good pitchers now. Ooh, Baltimore sucks. I hate the trash.
Ohtani is back in rotation.
Yeah, and throwing 102 and throwing a 90-some-odd-mile-an-hour splitter, which is filthy, and hitting 500-foot tank jobs. Oh, by the way, Darren Fletcher is really good, and Rendon's one of the best hitters in baseball, and Mike Trout is, the best player in baseball. Jared Walsh was kind of interesting last year, and maybe they'll call up Marsh, and maybe they're going to go to Joe. Like, do you see how this Angels team looks like it could be a lot more dangerous? Oh, by the way, they went out and addressed the bullpen and went out and got real bullpen pieces, traded for Rizal Iglesias. Like, do you see what I mean here? All right, like
they'll bounce back this
year. Upton's corpse is right there alongside Pujols as dragging them down. Like, they need to replace him. Like, that's why I'm saying they need to go to Joe Adell and go to Brandon Marsh. And honestly, like, you should probably put Marsh in center field and move Trout to left field so he stays healthy. That's just an aside. That's more of a I love Mike Trout and want to see Mike Trout break a lot of records and play a lot of games for the rest of his career. And maybe it's time to put him into left field so he doesn't get hurt anymore. Although, again, none of the injuries have been because he's been in center field. But I just want to see a lot more.
Is this
Mike
the
Trout.
Justin Upton bounce back year?
No, Justin Upton sucks. Just fire him into the sun. Okay, you know how I always talk about firing people into the sun, like Tanner Roark, and like if you watch the football equivalent of this, like half the Falcons, just fire them into the sun. Fire him into the sun. Just directly into the sun. He's bad.
Is he like 32?
He came up like 20, so he's been up forever.
It's like King Felix. He's fried. It's over.
Yeah.
He's peaked and it's done.
He's 33, turning 34 soon.
Upton is so bad. He could only ever hit lefties too. Like him and his brother somehow finessed the league out of so much money. Him and Bossman Jr. BJ, by the way, his name being Bossman Jr. is the greatest thing ever. It's really just one. I don't understand how it's not talked about more. I really don't. But yeah, no, seriously, like back to actual, baseball things that make sense instead of my rambling. These are all teams that are going to be fighting for playoff spots. You know what I mean? Like this is going to be a wild fucking season because we're back to the original rules of baseball and it's 162 and not, that fucking compressed season that we had last year.
Yeah. There's only one runaway team.
Right. Which is also why the pitching staff should be better. And, coming off of the shortened season and the fact that it's probably going to be a fucking slaughter for pitchers and you're going to need more than ever, that this is not ideal.
No, it's like the hitters are going to have to be as great as we need them to be. And then the front office is going to say, we're going to really go for it to get a pitcher. Because it's not going to just be the Jays.
That's exactly.
Every team wants pitching.
Every year, every team wants pitching. It's like defensemen in hockey. Everyone needs a fucking defense. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a trade deadline. We have 17 defensemen now. Why? Because reasons. In the playoffs, what happens? We have 30 pitchers now. Why? Reasons. You know what I mean? Like,
but Anthony's saying that he's scared of them not trading. We got Ross Stripling last deadline. So like
chicken strip, eh?
Like
we're gonna make moves.
Get like a guy who is like, wow, this guy's a difference maker.
David Price back in 2000.
They're gonna have to spend a lot prospect wise that they would refuse to do the whole offseason.
That's the interesting thing to me.
What
do they do with the prospect capital? You know what I mean? Because these prospects have been pretty good so far as they're coming up. And hey, we all love them and we're getting attached to them. But like
Groshans and Martin are close. Like
Martin's different. I think Martin's kind of on one of those. He's one of the dudes that doesn't get traded. Like he's the Vladdy Nate Pearson. He's the top he's the guy that you don't touch.
Yeah.
But Groshans, I mean, I love what he could be, but if you're telling me that Jordan Groshans could be a starting pitcher for me right now, well, you know what I mean? If you could trade that.
We just don't even have a spot for him.
There's a lot of issues like with that and like what they need and maybe kick down the door for the competitive window. But those are all things we'll get to if we get to that point, right? Like hopefully we're talking about those things because this team's winning and they need to get put over the top. Hopefully we're not talking about that because this team needs to start winning to get in the conversation. Right? Like that would be, I guess, fucking disaster. But let's not try to go to the worst case scenario. Yeah. Anything else you boys wanted to get to? Because the playoff scenario, like the AL East is a mess, and obviously you want to win the division, but the wild card is going to be no joke. Like there cannot be prolonged losing streaks. Like you cannot be fucking around. Like I know it's 162. Like losing 3 games in a row isn't a long losing streak, by the way, in 162. I'm just going to throw that out there for people that are going to probably freak out the first time that happens. It's going to happen. It's going to happen multiple times.
Between me.
Oh, yeah, like Wilner, the Blue Jays in 1993 lost 8 of 10. So,
right?
So
did they lose like 20-0 one game too?
It's still early.
Didn't Milwaukee like crush them that year too? That's always like something they bring up about that team. They lost by like 20.
Probably.
Yeah.
Is that the name of Wilner's podcast? Maybe that's what we should call this one. It's still early.
That's our fantasy baseball.
I know. We should port it over here. Oh man. But yeah, no, like the playoffs, like here's the fun thing. We're talking about this team and the playoff chances and how they can work and where you can fit them in and how this is like, you know what I mean? And it's a lot more exciting because it's not like, well, this guy needs to have a career year and this dude who's never done it, well, we pulled him off the scrap heap. Maybe he could do it. You know what I mean? And maybe that guy over there that nobody's ever heard of just comes out of nowhere, right? Like there's a lot less of that this year. There's more of like, well, here's a dude that was an MVP candidate that we think could bounce back. And you're like, okay, I could see that. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh, yeah, here's some of the best prospects in the game. And you're like, yeah, I could see that happening. And they're like, here's one Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in actual baseball shape hitting fucking piss missiles. Yes, I think I can get behind that, right? Like there's some exciting things. I'm pumped for the season. Like we might have been a little bit doom and gloom talking about the pitching injuries and shit, but in the whole,
and Francisco Liriano's on the roster. Fun fact.
Yes.
I forgot about that.
You want to talk about a guy who better not be starting baseball games for this team. You know what? I'll take Liriano over Tommy Malone any day, though. Like I'll take a gas can over Tommy Malone, like an actual jerry can. You can just put it on the mound. I take that over Tommy Malone.
We should do an.
Well, embrace debate. I take Tommy Malone.
Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a podcast about over/under date of a Tommy Malone start.
Oh my god!
What's a good date? Like,
I'm gonna have a full fucking meltdown if there's a Tommy Malone start. Like a full blown meltdown if there's a Tommy Malone.
Anthony, when do you think it's gonna be?
April 28th.
Okay, I'm gonna go May.
I think that's actually a great date, right
May
before
1st.
May. Oh my god!
We'll go May 1st, and see with the under, Tony the over. We'll figure out something.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely going with the under because it's probably gonna be it's gonna be one of those late April starts because it's gonna be someone gets hurt and they can't call up one of the kids because of service time issues, and it's gonna be the dude that you can just waive in DFA. It's gonna be, oh my god, I'm so angry that that's how this is gonna happen. I'm so upset. Why did you guys have to do this to me? Why? Like, I'm gonna have to watch a Tommy Malone. I'm gonna have to watch Tommy Malone pitch.
We watched
It's
Edwin
probably
Jackson.
gonna be with the Yankees, and he's like, that's better than Tommy Malone. Actually,
At this point.
is it? Is it?
No, it's not.
That's a good point.
Jackson, one of the worst pitchers I've seen.
That's a good point. Actually, we also watched Socrates Brito. Remember that?
Great name.
Alan Hansen. This team's come a long way. Like, yeah, there's like Ross Stripling and shit, but at least that's Socrates Burrito. Yeah, I guess unless you guys got anything else to go to. That's been it for episode 4 of the Toronto Untitled Blue Jays podcast. I'm Steve Artabello with Anthony Harris and Theo Giordano. As always, you can find us on Twitter, Toronto Untilt, at Toronto Untilt. You can find our website, TorontoUntilt.com. You can find YouTube where this video will be posted. That is Toronto Untilt on YouTube. And of course, on Spotify, Google, Apple, any place you get your podcast, Anchor, Bleaker, Breaker. Like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends, let them know. We will be doing this on a regular basis starting Sunday, maybe even something on opening day. We will see. But until next time, see y'all later.